In this lesson, we shall be looking at identifying the research problem. You have to understand that it is not just by forming the problem that it is taken for granted that the researcher has experience in the area. How the problem is selected and developed also counts. So it is important that the researcher develops the problem and makes it to appear gradually in such a manner that it is seen to have been preceded by a study of the literature and the mapping out of what has already been known on the issue. But what is a research problem? Ellen Brayman defined a research problem as a definite or clear statement about an area of concern, a condition to be improved upon, a difficulty to be eliminated, or a troubling question that exists in scholarly literature, in theory, or within the existing practice that points to a need for meaningful understanding and deliberation. With particular reference to education, Creswell defined a research problem as an educational issue or a concern that an investigator presents and justifies in a research study. Defining a research problem for your dissertation. How do you define a research problem? Defining the research problem you will address in your research, and of course why you will address it, is one of the most important steps in writing either a project, a dissertation, or a thesis. A good problem definition will lead you to a clear problem statement and the dissertation objectives. It will also help you to formulate appropriate research questions and hypotheses. There are two things that you need to do as you define your research problem. First, you will need to identify the general area of the problem. Second, you will need to yourself try as much as possible to learn as much as possible about the problem. Now, in identifying the problem area, you start by identifying what you would like to focus on. Of course, depending on your program or field of study, the problem you would like to focus on may be a practical problem or it may be theoretical in nature. Of course, sometimes the problem may relate to trying to understand why a certain situation exists. An example of a practical issue that may interest you is one where a technical school, for instance, in your local area is facing decreased enrollment due to changes in the people's demographics, a situation that cannot be reversed. However, the authorities are worried that it will come a time when all the students would have left and the school would have to shut down, or it will create a bad image for the school. This is a practical problem that the research will try to find out why the situation exists and what can be done about it. Sometimes we focus on a problem of more theoretical nature, such as trying to determine the effect of nutrition on technical school students' performance. Either of these, when identified as a problem, we need to be clearly defined before we are able to proceed. Now, when you have identified the problem area, the next logical step is to research the problem with the goal of developing understanding that you will need to pinpoint the aspect of the problem that you will address in your project, dissertation, or thesis. Now, again, depending on the issue, your research may include consulting the literature and other relevant information sources or speaking to experts. Yet, as you conduct research to try to understand the problem, you will need to keep in mind the following questions. First, you need to try to determine the context of the problem. Who, for instance, has the problem? And when or where does the problem arise? What is the cause of the problem? For example, does the problem arise from earlier research, or does it relate to a change in some factor? You also need to try to understand the background of the problem. Here, you will need to ask questions such as, what do we already know about the problem? What do researchers and other individuals involved have to say about the problem? What has been done to solve the problem before? Have any solutions been successful? And if yes, why? Has any cause been focused on particular? Besides looking at the context and the background of the problem, you also need to be specific about the problem you want to study. What exactly are you going to have to solve? What will you tackle? You also need to consider the relevance of the problem. Why is this problem important for society or the profession? Why does society need to solve the problem? Or what does your profession need to solve the problem? What will happen if this problem is not solved? And who will feel the consequences? Once you have defined your problem, the next step is to create a problem statement. It is this problem statement that will serve as the basis for formulating your main research question and sub-questions. In the next lesson, we shall be looking at the problem statement and how to formulate it.